In this video, we will look at a geometric series. A geometric sequence would be a half, a quarter, an eighth. The geometric series then is when you add the terms together, a half plus a quarter plus an eighth and so on. And we have a formula for getting the general term of the geometric series. So that's the sum to n terms of a geometric sequence, adding the terms of the geometric sequence together. So Sn is a times 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r, whereas before a is the first term and r is the common ratio. In this question we want to find the sum of the first 8 terms of the geometric series, and we're going to take a look at part 5. The series here is a half plus a quarter plus 1/8 and so on. Quite clearly then, a, the first term, is a half, and the common ratio, the second term divided by the first term, is also a half. We just use the formula. S of n of a geometric series is a times 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r. So that gives us S8 is a, which is a half, times 1 minus r, which is a half, to the power of 8, because it's 8 terms, all over 1 minus r, which is a half. And we just work that out. A half times 1 minus, and then 1 over a half, 1 over 2 to the power of 8 is 1 over 256, and our denominator is a half, because 1 minus a half is a half, and of course we can just divide above and below by a half, and we're left with 1 minus 1 over 256, which of course gives us 255 over 256. So the sum of the first 8 terms is 255 over 256. And before you move on to the next part, pause the video and do part 2 of this question. And in this question we're given the first 2 terms of the geometric series, 216, the second one is 54, and the first thing we're asked to find is the common ratio. That means that T1, the first term, is 216, second term T2 is 54, and to find the common ratio we divide the second term by the first term. So we have that the common ratio is 54 divided by 216, which is a quarter. Now we want to find the sum of the first 6 terms. Correct 2 decimal places. And the formula for Sn is a times 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r. We want to find S6, the sum of the first 6 terms. And this is a, which is 216, times 1 minus r, which is a quarter, to the power of 6, because that's the number of terms, over 1 minus r, or 1 minus a quarter. Working this out, we get 216 times 1 minus 1 over 4 to the power of 6, all over 3 quarters. Tidying that up, we can see that 216 divided by 3 quarters is 288, and then we have 1 minus a quarter to the power of 6 is 4095 over 4 over 9 is 409. In the third part of this question, we have to find the sum of the second 6 terms. Correct 2 decimal places. So that means you have to find from S7 up to, or from T7 up to T12. Now the sum of the second 6 terms is like the sum of the first 12 terms minus the sum of the first 6 terms. So it's S12 minus S6. We remind ourselves there's a formula for Sn. That's a times 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r. And we just plug that in to each of these pieces here. Even though we've already found S6 to 2 decimal places, we can just put it into the formula again. It's sometimes easier. S12 is a times 1 minus r to the power of 12 over 1 minus r. And then we subtract S6. And S6, of course, is 216 times 1 minus a quarter to the power of 6 over 1 minus a quarter. And we just gather the terms together with the common term out. So 216 over 3/4 times 1 minus a quarter to the power of 12 minus 1, then minus by minus is a plus a quarter to the power of 6. Now 216 over 3/4 is 288. 1 minus 1 is 0. So we have a quarter to the power of 6 minus a quarter to the power of 12. In this question, we're first asked to find the sum of the first n terms of a geometric series. The geometric series is 2 plus a half plus an eighth and so on. Clearly a, the first term is 2. The common ratio is a quarter, because that's what you multiply 2 by to get a half. The general formula, the term is Sn is a times 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r. So we sub in 2 for a times 1 minus a quarter to the power of n over 1 minus a quarter. So that's 2 times 1 minus a quarter to the power of n over, and 1 minus a quarter, which is 3/4. And of course 2 divided by 3/4 is 8 over 3. So Sn is 8 over 3 times 1 minus a quarter to the power of n.